Welcome to the Death by Disney podcast. I'm your host, Adam, and today we're going to talk about. Well, on this podcast, I review absolutely every single Disney movie that's ever been made, and today we're going to talk about Homeward Bound 2, Lost in San Francisco. I think it came out in 1995. This is the sequel to one of my favorite films of all time, Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey. Did this film live up to the first film? No. Was there any point of making this film? No. I gave it a 3 out of 10. So basically, the plot of this movie is almost exactly the same as the plot of the first movie. The family is actually, it's worse because the family is moving and they're taking the animals with them, and the animals are being loaded onto an airplane, and they think somehow that they're not going with their family, so they escape, and they're in San Francisco and they have to, survive the mean streets of San Francisco. All right, so here I will give you my review, then I'll give you some trivia. Actually, today, no trivia because the movie, to be frank, is not that interesting. And then, to make this fair and legitimate criticism, I will read you a negative review and a positive review and interact with those. Okay, here's my review. While certainly not a bad film, this lacks the heart and charm of its predecessor. Shadow, the older dog, was almost certainly an afterthought to the plot, but in the previous film, he was a crucial older mentor figure. Sassy, again played by Sally Fields, the cat character is just mean and not sassy anymore. The animals have gone through a traumatic experience in the first film, and the Chance character, played again by Michael J. Fox, has been traumatized by an experience in a pound, and yet the cat character brings this up quite often as a kind of joke, which seems really mean and not something a friend would do. The first film was an adventure through a wilderness, and this is the trite idea that the city is an urban wilderness. The film is set in San Francisco, but there seem to be packs of feral dogs running around in the city. This seems to be a tad unrealistic, but is a feature of many films in which there are talking animals. The American city with the biggest problem with stray dogs is Detroit, with 5,000 in 2023. So we can probably assume that the figures were lower when this movie came out. So maybe there were like 200 stray dogs or something like that in San Francisco at the time, and they meet 10 of them. This is a slightly small thing to criticize about this movie. My biggest criticism of the movie is that they made it at all. Honestly, apart from that, my biggest criticism is that in this movie, the dogs can understand human beings. In the first movie, a large part of the plot is driven by the fact that the dogs do not understand what the human beings are talking about, and they think that they have been abandoned. Makes sense, right? But in this movie, they understand things that the humans say, so why did they misunderstand where they were going when they went to the airport? It doesn't make any sense at all. On top of that, there is a completely superfluous love story between Chance and another dog. And Chance says something like, "My humans will love you because I love you," which you might think makes sense until you realize that his love interest is a stray dog who has never had any owner, so has never had a bath in its life, and lives in an urban environment, so no dips into rivers or ponds or anything, and so must be infected with a lot of parasites and other dog diseases. Very cute. Uh, yeah, not cute at all. So clearly, I didn't like this movie. I think it's a complete waste of time. Um, why make a sequel to a perfect movie? I don't really get that. Um, I think that there are movies where sequels make sense, where the character is a character that has like serial adventures, like a superhero, like Superman or Thor. They can have more than one movie because more than one interesting thing probably happens to them. But I would hope in Chance's life, Shadow's life, and Sassy's life, that was the most interesting thing that happened to them, and we don't need to see those characters again. Okay, what did other people think? Um, here it so my 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 review is the one of the worst. So as I said, I gave it 2 out of 10. This is 1 out of 10. The only review that's worse than mine on the Internet Movie Database. Homeward Bound 2, Lost in San Francisco, 1996. Directed David R. Ellis, cast Robert Hayes, Kim Greist, Kevin Chevalier, Veronica Lauren, Benji Thal. Oh, actually, none of the stars of the first movie were in this movie. Makes sense. Sequel to Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey, that is basically the same film set in new locations. Witless plot. Excuse me. Witless plot has 2 dogs and a cat on a journey from San Francisco. They are involved in dog fights, avoid dog catchers, and save a cat from a burning building. Logic goes out the window once the dogs band together against dog catchers. Lame family film idiocy with a retread plot and horrible directing by David R. Ellis. He basically repackages the same film with a new title and even dumber circumstances. Robert Hayes was in Airplane and Kim Greist was in Brazil. Together they are given nothing to work with as the animal owners. Considering that they both had at least one decent film on the resume, they should not have been punished with this one. On the bright side, they can always use their superior films to focus attention and try to forget that they were ever in this beep stain family film. Also having their time wasted in this travesty are Kevin Chevalier and Veronica Lauren, who play the children who seem to have read the manual on how to act like the typical kid in bad Hollywood movies. Following on the success of the first film, this film should be tossed to the dogs to be chewed to bits and resulted in that mess in the front yard. 1 out of 10, and that's Anaconda 4065. Yeah, I don't have any comments on that film, on that review. I completely agree with it. I think the whole movie was superfluous, and they didn't even have the charm of the original actors. It's not their fault about Shadow because his actor died. But the other two, Michael J. Fox is still active in 1996. Sally Fields was still active in 1996. Of course, Sally Fields probably this was around the time of making Forrest Gump, so probably she was a bit more busy. But I think that's maybe one of the reasons why this movie doesn't work is because charming actors can make bad dialogue charming. So and honestly, I didn't notice that they were different actors, but also the voice actors are trying to sound like different actors and not necessarily the character. So obviously that also has something to do with the quality of the film. Okay, but now we have a positive review, 10 out of 10. A 5.9, really? I'm not saying this movie should have won an Oscar or anything, but how is it in any way not a great movie? I mean, it has a bunch of dogs, a cat, and a kitten. Sure, it doesn't have some incredible groundbreaking plot, but it's a great family movie. My dad took me to see it when I was 6. I'm now 28 and just watched it again and might love it more now than when I was a child. Honestly, how can anyone give it a bad review? It has incredibly well-trained animals acting out a story of the bond between humans and their pets, and a little side love story thrown in. The movie is perfect. It will make you laugh, or it can make a hardened 200-pound dude with tattoos who is in the U.S. Army, me, shed a tear or two. Honestly, people are way too judgmental over a simple family feel-good movie with a bunch of awesome animals. I have 2 thoughts about that review. First review, it's clear that he didn't see the first one, and it's clear that he has some kind of affection for the second one because his dad took him to see it. So it's a nice memory for him. So bad movies can be nice memories. right? That doesn't mean that they're good. I love Howard the Duck. Is it a good movie? Probably not. But I think it is. But, I'm not objective about it. So he's also not objective about Homeward Bound 2. One more thing. I don't understand why there's this argument like, I'm in the army, I'm tough, so I like this movie, so people can like it. I don't really like that because the U.S. Army is this huge institution and there are so many people in it. So, you know, I'm sure they have a range of personalities there. So just because you're tough doesn't mean that this movie is good. It means that you watched it when you were 6 with your dad, and it's a sweet memory for you, which is fine, which is alright. But this is nothing like the first movie. If you want to watch one of these movies, watch the first one, not this one. Don't watch this. Don't. But if you did watch it, what do you think about it? Do you agree with me? Do you agree with the second reviewer that this is a great movie? Leave a comment in on Spotify or the YouTube channel, wherever you want. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. Thanks. Bye.